That morning I picked up my phone and started deleting. One by one. My oldest son, gone. My daughter, gone. My youngest, the one I skipped meals for just so he could finish college, gone. I sat there in the silence of my kitchen, 87 years old, waiting to cry. But the tears never came. Instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, relief. And that scared me more than anything. This didn't happen overnight. It never does. It built up slowly, quietly, over 3 years. Like water filling a room, you don't notice until you're already drowning. At first I understood. I really did. My kids are busy. They have jobs, mortgages, schedules. My son works 60 hours a week. My daughter has 2 young children of her own. Life moves fast when you're in the middle of it. I told myself that. I believed it. I made excuses for them before they even asked me to. But then I started paying closer attention. My son, the one who was too busy to drive 40 minutes to see me, he spent 10 days in Cancun last summer. I saw the photos on Facebook, him laughing on the beach, his wife holding a cocktail, everyone smiling. I stared at those pictures for a long time. My daughter posted every weekend, brunches, farmers markets, birthday parties for the dog. But my phone stayed quiet. Then came my 87th birthday. I drove myself to the store, picked out a small cake, brought it home, set it on the kitchen table, pushed in a single candle, and lit it. And I sang, "Happy Birthday," alone, to myself. I blew out the candle and sat in the dark for a while. That was the moment something inside me changed forever. Then one afternoon my phone rang. I saw my oldest son's name on the screen. My heart actually jumped. I won't pretend it didn't. After weeks of silence, I thought, maybe he remembered. Maybe something shifted. Maybe he just wanted to hear my voice. I answered on the first ring. "Hey, Dad." He sounded casual, relaxed. "Hey, son." I smiled. I actually smiled. Then came the pause. And then, "So listen, I've been meaning to ask, that property you own back in your hometown, have you decided what you're going to do with it?" I didn't answer right away. I just sat there, holding the phone, feeling something collapse quietly inside my chest. Not dramatically, not with tears, just a slow, silent crumbling, like an old wall finally giving way. We talked for 11 minutes. He never once asked how I was feeling, never asked if I was eating well, sleeping well, if I was lonely. When he got his answer, the conversation ended. After I hung up, I sat in my chair for a long time without moving, and for the first time in my life, I allowed myself to ask a question I had always been too afraid to ask. Was I actually in love with my children? Or had I spent decades in love with who I hoped they would become? I want to be very clear about something. I did not delete my children's numbers out of anger. I didn't do it to punish them, or to make some grand statement, or because I stopped loving them. Love doesn't just turn off. Not after 87 years of living. Not after everything I poured into raising those 3 human beings from nothing. I did it because I finally understood something painful and simple. Every time I looked at my phone and saw their names sitting there in silence, no missed calls, no messages, nothing, I was hurting myself. I was opening the same wound over and over again, every single day just by looking. Their names had stopped being a comfort. They had become a reminder, a quiet, daily reminder that I was waiting for something that was not coming. So I made a decision, not out of bitterness, out of self-preservation. I chose to stop bleeding. And then, for the first time in a very long time, I asked myself a question nobody had ever bothered to ask me. Not my children, not my doctor, not anyone. What do I actually want? Not what do I need, not what do I owe, not what do I have left to give. What do I, as a person who is still alive and still breathing and still here, what do I actually want? The answer surprised me. I wanted to paint. I know that sounds small, but 50 years ago, before the mortgage and the grocery bills and the college tuition and the endless, exhausting machinery of providing for a family, I used to paint. Watercolors mostly, landscapes. I was never brilliant at it, but I loved the feeling of a brush in my hand, the way color moves when you let it. I gave it up so gradually, I barely noticed it was gone. I went to the art supply store on a Tuesday morning, bought a small set of watercolors, a pad of paper, and 2 brushes. The young woman at the register asked if I was buying them as a gift. I told her no, they were for me. She smiled, like that was the most normal thing in the world. I also started going to a senior center nearby. I had driven past it for years without ever stopping. I always assumed it wasn't for me, that I wasn't that kind of old yet. But I walked in one Wednesday, and within an hour I was sitting at a table playing cards with 3 people who made me laugh harder than I had in years. Real laughter, the kind that comes from your stomach. One of them, a woman named Gloria, told me she hadn't laughed like that since her husband passed 4 years ago. We've had coffee together 6 times since then. I also called my attorney. I revised my will, not as revenge, not as a weapon, but as an honest reflection of my actual life. My estate will go to the people who have shown up for me. The neighbor who brings me soup when I'm sick, the nephew who calls every Sunday without fail. That is what presence deserves. That is what love in action looks like. And finally, I did something I had never done in 87 years on this earth. I booked a trip, alone. 7 days in a city I had always wanted to see, but always put off because there was always something else, always someone else's need that came first. For the first time in my life, my name was the only one on the reservation. It felt terrifying. It felt extraordinary. It felt like finally meeting someone I had kept waiting far too long. Myself. 4 months passed. I won't pretend they were easy months. There were still mornings when I woke up and reached for my phone out of habit, forgetting for just a moment that those numbers were gone. There were still Sunday evenings that sat heavy and quiet in a way that was hard to describe to anyone who hasn't felt it. Loneliness doesn't announce itself. It just settles in like weather. But I was different. Something in me had shifted in a way that couldn't be shifted back. I had 16 paintings by then. Most of them were bad, genuinely, embarrassingly bad. Gloria had seen them and was kind enough to say they had character. I appreciated the diplomacy. But I kept painting anyway, because it turned out the point was never the painting. The point was the hour I spent each morning completely inside myself, not waiting for anyone, not listening for a phone that never rang, just moving color across paper and existing without apology. I had also come back from my trip, 7 days, alone. I won't say which city because that part belongs only to me, but I will say this. I sat in a small restaurant on my 3rd night there, eating a meal I had chosen entirely for myself, at a table by the window, watching strangers live their lives on the street below. And I felt something I had not felt in so long, I had forgotten it had a name. I felt like a person, not a father waiting to be acknowledged, not an old man sitting in a quiet house hoping for a phone call. A person with a history and a hunger and the right to take up space in the world. I was still inside that feeling, still carrying it home with me when it happened. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was in the backyard, struggling with the watercolor of the oak tree near my fence, when I heard knocking at the front door. Not the doorbell. Knocking. Urgent, almost nervous knocking. I set down my brush. When I opened the door, my youngest son was standing on the porch. He looked different than I remembered, tired around the eyes, uncertain in a way I had never seen on him before. He was holding his car keys so tightly his knuckles had gone pale. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said, "Dad, I've been calling you. I couldn't get through. I didn't know what had happened." I looked at him. This boy I had carried on my shoulders. This boy I had stayed up with through fevers and nightmares and heartbreaks. This boy I had quietly, privately grieved, as though he were already gone. And I asked him, calmly, without cruelty, but without softness either, "Since when?" He blinked. "What? Since when have you been worried about me?" He didn't have an answer ready. I could see him searching for one, and I could see the moment he understood that no easy answer existed. He looked down at his keys. He looked back up at me. "Can I come in?" he said. I stepped aside. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I had once eaten a birthday cake alone, and we talked for 3 hours. I don't mean we exchanged information. I mean we actually talked. He told me things I didn't know, that his marriage had been struggling, that he had been feeling lost, that he had buried himself in distraction, the way people do when they can't face what's sitting underneath. He wasn't making excuses. He was, for the first time, just telling me the truth. And I told him mine. I told him how the birthdays felt. I told him about the phone call about the property. I told him about the cake and the candle and singing to myself in the dark. I didn't tell it to punish him. I told it because he was finally sitting still long enough to hear it, and because the truth, spoken plainly and without theatre, is the only foundation anything real can ever be built on. He cried at the part about the birthday. I let him. I didn't cry, not because I wasn't moved, but because somewhere over the past 4 months I had already done that grieving. I had already sat with the loss and walked through it and come out the other side. I wasn't numb. I was simply no longer desperate. And I think that's precisely why he could finally see me. Here is what I've come to understand, and I want you to hear this carefully, because it took me 87 years to learn it. When you need someone to show up for you, when your entire sense of peace depends on whether or not they call, whether or not they remember, whether or not they choose you, you make yourself invisible to them. Your need becomes a kind of noise they learn to stop hearing. It becomes the background hum of a house, something you tune out without even realizing you're doing it. But when you stop, when you step back and pour that energy into your own life, when you paint your terrible paintings and eat your dinners by windows in cities no one expected you to visit, and sit across from a woman named Gloria and laugh from somewhere deep in your stomach, something changes. You become someone again. Someone with a life that is visibly, undeniably being lived. And people, even the people who forgot to look, tend to notice a life being lived. My son and I are not fixed. I want to be honest with you about that. 3 hours at a kitchen table does not undo 3 years of distance. There is still work to be done, still trust that needs time and consistency to be rebuilt. I am not a man who believes in easy redemption arcs. But he came back, not because I begged, not because I guilted him or threatened him, or made myself smaller and more convenient for him to love. He came back because I had stopped waiting for him to. I am not telling you this story so you'll judge my children. And I'm not telling it so you'll judge me. I'm telling it because I know who's watching this. You're the parent who sets the dinner table for 2 and only ever uses 1 chair. You're the one who composes a text message, reads it over 3 times, and then deletes it because you don't want to seem like a burden. Maybe you're not 87, maybe you're 45 or 32, sitting alone at midnight, staring at a phone that has nothing new to show you. I see you, and I need you to hear this, because nobody told me for far too long. Your loneliness is not a verdict. It is not proof that you are too much or not enough or somehow disqualified from being loved. Sometimes loneliness is simply what happens when you have spent so long pouring yourself into other people that you forgot to save anything for yourself. You are not waiting for the wrong people to finally choose you. You are waiting for yourself to choose you first. Start there. Everything else, everything worth keeping, tends to follow. If this story reached you in some way, leave a comment below. I read every single one.